Hey everyone, TJ here. Listen, if you're like me, then there's a million other things you'd rather spend your Saturday morning doing than vacuuming the house. So today, we're gonna spend a little bit of time and we're gonna talk about automated vacuum cleaning systems, okay? Specifically, this model here in front of me, which is called the RoboVac 11S, and this one is made by a company called Eufy. There's a lot of different models out there on the market, from iRobot to Shark and Roomba are some of the other more common names you've probably heard of before. We've had this product in our home now for a little bit over a year and a half or so. And I can tell you it's a fantastic product. It's for a budget model. You'd be hard pressed to find one that does a better job than this guy right here. I have some friends that have some of the other ones from the Roomba and iRobot, and they do fantastic jobs as well. And there's a lot of different price points, and it depends on what fits your lifestyle. This particular model, it does not work with your cell phone. So it's not something you're going to jump on your cell phone and control and drive it around your house. And it does not work through Alexa and your automated home system. So I'm not going to yell out to Alexa and say, hey, tell RoboVac to go clean the house or whatever. It's not going to happen. However, the remote that it comes with is very simple. There's really just a few buttons here that you would use most of the time. And you're either going to do likely a perimeter clean where it's going to drive around the edges of your home and clean. There's an option where you just set it in a room and it'll go through its pattern and it'll do a pretty good job of cleaning a room. And then there's an option where it'll return to the base if it didn't on its own, and you can push that and it'll just drive up to its base and start charging. And then there's a schedule option where you can schedule it to go out and do its thing at a routine. And then there's a spot clean. So let's say you had dropped some powder on the ground or something, you could potentially set this there and it'll start out in a circular from the center, and it will continue just getting larger and larger until it's vacuumed that entire space. That can be very useful. Now, one of the biggest questions a lot of people ask when I've talked about these things before is this something that would replace your full-size upright vacuum cleaner? My answer to that is possibly. In the year and a half we've had this, we've pulled out the full-size vacuum maybe a couple of times. Now, with that being said, our home is predominantly tile and some laminate, so it's a very flat surface overall. We do have a few throw rugs that are down that are no more than about a 1/4 inch high pile. So this is able to, as it approaches the pile, there's a little wheel here that spins on the front, and the back tires actually move independently of each other. So they have a little flex there, which allows it to, as it approaches something, if one wheel, instead of it going crooked and getting stuck, that wheel can kind of push up and flex and allow it to then drive up onto those different raised areas. This particular one is a little under 3 inches tall. And the diameter across, it's about 12.5 inches, a little greater than 12.5 inches. You want to take that into consideration when you're looking at these different kind of models, because depending on your furniture, some of the taller ones that sit up a little higher off the ground may not be able to go underneath some of the pieces of furniture or your chairs in your kitchen and that sort of thing, which I'll show you that in just a moment when we put it through a little test out in the other room, and you can see how it will go around our chairs in the dining area and that sort of thing. So the height can matter getting underneath things, and also the width navigating in between stuff. Now, many of them have the same type of systems on the bottom, so we're going to just talk about this a little bit. So this has your standard roller, which is very similar to what you have on a regular hand upright vacuum, right? So that's your regular roller. And then you have these guys, and what these do as they spin in this direction, and you'll see they start to develop a little bend to them because of hitting on the wall and spinning the same direction all the time. And so what these guys do is they rub against like the edge of the wall and different things, and as it's approaching stuff, and it pushes those items back to the center that then allow the main roller to suck it up. And then this little box here in the back is where it collects all the dust and the debris that it sucks up. And so this was emptied probably a couple weeks ago, so it's been a couple weeks since we've emptied it, but there's a little release mechanism here that allows this to pop free. So we squeeze that down, this comes off. So now this is your little thing if you were ever emptying just like a regular dust vac or something. Same type of thing, you're gonna take that, take it over to the trash, put it down, it fills up with a lot of dust. Folks, the amount this thing sucks up it amazed us the very first time, and it still does a year and a half later, of how much it finds in the house as it just drives around. So you think it's just kind of aimlessly going around, and then you go to open this thing up and you realize how much stuff it pulls out. But so let's just pop this guy open. I'm gonna click the release, and I don't know how well you can see that, but this thing is literally full of dust. Now, we don't have any pets in this house, so there's no dogs, cats, nothing like that to produce dust or hair. So keep that in mind. If you guys have a lot of pets, then you would find that this would probably fill up a whole lot sooner, and you'd have to be emptying it a lot sooner. Now, with that being said, and there's also a little filter piece here that you would clean out with intervals, and I just blow that one out with an air gun, canned air. I blow that out, and it seems to be just fine. So we put that back in. Now on the front, there's a little bumper that helps it not jam into things really hard. So when it hits something pretty gently, it hasn't done any damage to any of the furniture in our home. And we have some wood legs on some things, some metal couches and things, and it's never done any kind of damage. It senses if it's approaching a ledge. So for example, we have a little ledge as it goes out to our laundry area. And so as it approaches that little ledge, it'll notice there's a ledge there, and it'll stop and turn and run along the ledge and go about its way. So we've never had an issue with it falling off a ledge. Occasionally we have a little tree thing in the house that is for like jackets and stuff that has some bars to go up at an angle, and it has banked itself on something like that where it's got driven literally right up on it and just got stuck, and it takes the wheels where they can't turn, and we've had to adjust it and move it. If it stays stuck for an extended period, and it will power down. So that's the gist of the main part of how this works. We usually let it run a couple of times in between and we empty it, which in our situation that works out. But again, if you have pets and other things in your home, or if you have more children, then that may be an issue. If you have more carpet that this has to drive over, that likely would fill it more, because it's going to pull fibers and things off of that carpet. As that brush turns, it's going to start drawing more fibers into it and everything from your carpet, which is going to fill that even quicker. These components are replaceable. That's another thing to know. So over time, these guys here will wear and they'll get bent, and some of them get damaged and stuff from running into things. So they clip on and off, and then these guys are replaceable. And then it has a rechargeable battery. So you see there's two metal contacts here on the sides. So when it docks itself, which it does all by itself, it'll pull right up, clicks on, and it'll charge the battery all by itself. It does not take too long to charge the battery. And it'll go out, and we usually in our house, it'll run a couple of different sessions. So we'll send it out, it'll do our living room and just kind of run for a half hour or so, and then we'll send it again to do it like some other bedrooms here and there. So we're going to take this out in the other room, we're going to fire it up, show you guys a little bit about how the remote works, and then you can see it in action. So while we're heading out there, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more, and leave me some comments below. Let's go check it out. So before we fire this up, I just want to take a second and just show you guys what the little dock looks like. So in the instructions, it talks about having plenty of space around this, so it has an easy way to pull in and park itself. We keep ours actually underneath a little bookcase here, so it's out of the way. I'm not saying that that's the right or the wrong, but it works for us. We've never had an issue with it, and it's been running this way for quite some time. So when it's time for it to return to its base, it will drive up on its own. You do not have to place it on there, and it will drive itself right on and begin charging. And those contacts I showed you earlier will make contact with these metal pieces on the sides here and start the charging process. So let's take a moment and let's just talk about the remote for just a minute. And as I mentioned the buttons earlier, but let's just take a closer look. On the very back, you're going to notice there's some information here, and it basically gives a real quick message of what each of these different symbols actually stands for. So when you go to the other side and you look at it, this is your spot cleaning, which is putting down and it starts in a circle, as you can see on the diagram. This is edge cleaning. This is cleaning a single room. This is returning to the base. So those are the main buttons, and this is your main controller, and then this is for adjusting suction power. So right now it is currently on the charger, and I'm going to just hit the button and make him come out. So this is the button I hit right there, and he's starting his regular cleaning. He's going to just go on a pattern and start cleaning the floor. And there's the carpet I talked about, so it's really low pile, and he drove on it no problem at all. And now you see we have the couch just tipped up, and he was able to navigate underneath that, no problem. Now cords, I want to point that out. You see how I just went over the cord? The more it vacuums on things that are carpet and stuff where there's fibers, the quicker it's going to obviously fill up. And of course, if you have pets, it's going to fill up even quicker. Let's take a look here. Now, if I want to steer it for whatever reason, you can hit these little arrow buttons and I can self-direct it. Now, if you're going to get into where you're trying to drive it around with these buttons and stuff, then at that point you might as well just use your regular vacuum. So we typically just allow it to go out and it runs its pattern for a half hour or so. Now I'm going to start it over here where this stuff is, and I just pushed on this spot clean, and you see it's going to go in a circle. And on the ground there is where I had some coffee grounds I just set down just so you could see. And as it gets closer over to this area here, and its pattern is getting a little wider, and it bumped something, so it just redirected itself. And you see how it's going to go right over those coffee grinds. And every time it bumps, it's going to redirect a little bit, and it went right over that. So I had coffee grounds here, and it's sucked up most of it already. And remember, it's making that pattern even wider and wider as it goes. And you see how it just drew in that stuff there? Okay. Not much left here. It's turning. So if you had dropped some flour or something in the kitchen and you didn't have a dust vac handy or something else, whatever you may have in your home, something like this would work. You'd be able to set it there in the middle of the floor, turn it on, and let it do its thing. Okay, so now I'm done with it doing its little spot clean. So now I'm going to hit the little button here that shows like the whole house. It looks like a little zigzag symbol in the house. I'm going to hit that. And it's basically going to go out now and just start to do its thing throughout the home. And it's going to run in a pattern all over the place. Now I want to direct you to see where I talked about movement around furniture. So because this is about 12.5 inches, it's just not a little more than that, it's able to clear the width of the legs of these stools. Okay? Some of the bigger ones would not have been able to do that. So this can fit through the width of the legs of the stools. And it's self-adjusting, figures out how to work its way around. And I know it may seem like it's stuck, but it's not. And it will work itself out. And as it does this, the little brushes on the sides, you're going to notice are getting right up to the edges of the baseboards, which is excellent. And it really pulls away the debris that builds up along the sides of your baseboards and gets that kind of stuff sucked up. So this will do its thing throughout the house for half hour or so. And then it will automatically dock itself. Now, if I'm all done for whatever reason and I was doing a spot clean and I want to send it back to the base, I can push this little button right here, which it looks like a little house, and it has a little symbol, and that's basically telling it to go dock itself. So this is what it would normally do all by itself. It doesn't come in from an angle, so it always drives itself a few feet away from it first, and then it will turn directly into the target and dock itself. And you see it's getting itself all lined up to the dock, to the right angle it needs to be. And if you listen, you'll hear it beep when it docks itself and it starts charging again. And that's it. Once again, folks, this is the RoboVac 11S from Eufy. We call ours affectionately Alfred from Batman. Anyway, if you'd like to get one for yourself, check out the description below and there's a link there. Fantastic product. Check it out. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.